Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see such a big turnout for the last session of the day on cryptocurrency. So I'll briefly introduce myself and get the panel to introduce themselves. So I'm Pamir Gelenbe. I guess as far as the cryptocurrency space goes, I'm a venture partner at Hummingbird Ventures. We've done one investment so far in this new exciting space in a company called Kraken, which is the leading exchange in the Euro-Bitcoin pair today. It's a company based in San Francisco, but most of their operations are focused on the Eurozone. And I'm also the organizer of an event called Coin Summit, which is a gathering of entrepreneurs and investors in the digital currency space. Adam, you want to say a few words?
My name is Adam Cleary. I'm the founder of a startup called Bullion Bitcoin. Bullion Bitcoin is a physical gold bullion to Bitcoin exchange. I'm also a director of the UKDCA, the Digital Currency Association, which is a trade body for Bitcoin and digital currency businesses in the UK.
Gavin?
So my name is Gavin Wood. I'm the co-founder and CTO of a company called Ethereum. Ethereum is a next-generation programmable blockchain platform. So it's there to effectively provide a compute platform for decentralized applications.
Peter?
My name is Peter Smith. I'm the CEO of blockchain.info. We build software that makes it easy for basically people and businesses to use the Bitcoin protocol. On a consumer level, we're most known for our Bitcoin wallet, which has about 3 million users.
Okay, so just a quick question. So who has a Bitcoin wallet here? That's great to see. Fantastic. Who's been playing around with the Ethereum testnet? Anyone? 2. Great. Okay, that's all very encouraging.
One more question. Who here would like a Bitcoin wallet? Oh, no.
Right, okay, so I guess my first question to the panel is I mean, it's to all of you, but maybe, Peter, I'll start with you. So do you think Bitcoin is dead? Just to get straight to the point. You know, actually, I was going to introduce a question. You know, many technologies go through the Gartner hype cycle. You have the peak of inflated expectations, and you have the trough of disillusionment. Then you have I think it's called the plateau of productivity. I think it's fair to say that Bitcoin has gone through the peak of inflated expectations. Now it's also fair to say, in kind of the trough at the moment. Hence my question. So what do you think?
So Bitcoin is definitely dead. I'm not really sure why we're all here. No, so I think that it depends on what you think what Bitcoin is. So at blockchain, we've always thought that Bitcoin is a software protocol. We've always thought that it would be useful as a way of communicating a very specific type of information, which is around ownership and value. And so we've actually never been a part of the ecosystem that's enabled consumers or investors to speculate on the future price of Bitcoin. And partly as a result of that, our growth has been very decoupled from the sort of speculation cycle or mania cycle in Bitcoin. So actually the number one predictor of our growth is actually stability in the price of Bitcoin. And so for the last 6 months, we've had a great deal of stability because Bitcoin has been in a very narrow range for the most part. And so the last 6 months for us have actually been phenomenal. We recently clipped 3 million users, so we've doubled in the last 11 months. And then we're now doing about 300,000 transactions every 7 days. Which, to give you an idea of the kind of scale there's another fintech startup here in the UK called WorldRemit that Excel just did a $40 million round into that does about 250,000 transactions a month. And so what we're seeing is usage going up. We're seeing the number of transactions per day going up. And as a company that's always been focused on building software that it would make it easy to transact, we're very excited about that and still very excited about Bitcoin's potential.
So what percentage of the overall Bitcoin network transactions does your company, I mean, what sort of market share do you have in terms of overall transaction volume?
Yeah, it depends on how you define a transaction. And there's lots of ways of looking at that. Depending on how you define it, we're somewhere between 40 and 65% of the network.
Great. So maybe next question to Gavin. So I think for our audience, it might be worthwhile for you to explain what Ethereum is and you know, why there's so much excitement around it.
Sure. So I think the first thing to get across is that Ethereum is a platform. So whereas Bitcoin is very clearly an application of a particular technology, a very impressive and innovative technology, the blockchain, Ethereum really seeks to abstract and generalize on this technology and create a platform for making software that can utilize this innovation. It's difficult to go into Ethereum in a technical sense with this limited amount of time, but really the sorts of applications we're expecting Ethereum to make possible are things that would normally have to go through a trusted intermediary. So whereas Bitcoin is a sort of an application that would normally have to go through a trusted intermediary, a bank, PayPal, whatever, the blockchain allows that not to happen. Well, Ethereum is sort of saying, well, anything else that you can imagine that would normally have to go through such a trusted intermediary, maybe you can apply it, maybe you can take Ethereum and build something that doesn't need that.
So can you give some examples of that?
Sure. So originally Ethereum was meant for trying to programmify money, so effectively creating programmable money. The sorts of things it was doing were kind of financial transactions, contracts for difference, for example. Now, since that point, which was about 14, 15 months ago, the vision for Ethereum has become considerably more expansive, and it really now seeks to be just a general decentralized application platform. But still, one of the key use cases that we see is in effectively creating user programmable money.
Great, thanks. So Adam, you work on new ways of using the blockchain. So what else can we do with the blockchain?
Well, I mean, I think the blockchain is clearly a fantastic technology that, in a way, is an even greater invention than Bitcoin itself. And effectively, it allows you to decentralize and distribute all sorts of things. And one of the things that we've been doing in Bullion Bitcoin is we've created bits of Bullion, which is an asset, a token that represents 1/100th of a troy ounce of gold. And effectively, these are colored coins. And so we are able to send gold over the blockchain. So you can store and transmit gold bullion over the blockchain. And we chose gold bullion first because it has many similarities in a way with Bitcoin. Similarities are always drawn between them. But in principle, you could use it as an asset register for any asset, for gold, for silver, for any different commodity that has some value. So the blockchain is a very powerful ledger, as it were, for recording and registering changes of ownership transactions between human beings peer-to-peer. And that can lead you very far into different applications. Great.
So what other types of applications do you see?
Well, as I said, I think I see the applications in law, perhaps in insurance. I was talking to Gavin, and he spoke about a company called Provenance, which enables people to track the origin of a consumer product from its very source using the blockchain, and at every stage in the production line process, in the assembly line, seeing the value and where that came from in every place. So really, in a sense, the human mind is the limit to the uses of the blockchain.
Great. So because, again, we're in this trough at the moment, there's a lot of FUD, of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around blockchain and Bitcoin. And some of the questions that we're hearing are, well, at the moment there's a limit on the number of transactions per second on this network. There are issues around decentralization of mining, and there are a couple of other issues. So I'd love to hear from our panel what you think about some of these challenges and whether you think they can get solved over time.
Well, I mean, I think that, as we heard from the FT 6 weeks ago, that Bitcoin was going to collapse imminently 1 week later, and it's still sort of there and going. So it's a good thing we don't take our opinions on Bitcoin from the Financial Times. I mean, I think, Bitcoin has shown its value over time, and there is constant work to find solutions technologically and technically to change the size of a block, and to make more transactions happen faster. So I'm confident that as Bitcoin has evolved enormously over the last 5 years, it'll evolve again over the next 5 years, and we will be able to meet and overcome these challenges.
Yeah, so scalability in particular is a tough question. Bitcoin itself and blockchain technology to date really hasn't put forward a workable solution, at least none that anybody has implemented for scalability. Now, at Ethereum, we do have a substantial amount of research going in this area, and we do hope that sort of 12 months' time, we will be able to put forward a credible plan for approaching this. But ultimately, the notion of consensus and the notion that everybody on the network must must agree upon the ground truth of everything, of all transactions that go through it, is a flaw. This is a flaw of Bitcoin. This isn't something that's going to go away. Until we work out a way that we can split up the truth into manageable packets, yet still be able to prove that some part of the truth that we don't know is indeed the truth that somebody else is maintaining. Until this gets solved, then basically it's not going to be able to be this sort of catch-all solution for providing append-only transaction ledgers.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to talk about transaction scalability.
Yeah, and just generally the challenges that we're facing.
I think that we've kind of been through this cycle around scalability a couple of times now. It usually takes quite a lot of time, and then sort of human nature is to put something off as long as possible. And so basically big changes in the Bitcoin network only happen when it's like do or die. Like Gavin's been around Bitcoin a long time, I've been around Bitcoin a long time. Oh, I was just saying that, whoa, there we go. That changes only really happen when they have to happen. And so in the Bitcoin network, a lot of times when significant changes needed to be made, we really ran the clock out right up until the moment we had to make the change. I think the same thing will happen for transaction scaling. I hope we'll have a good solution when we get there. I think there's a lot of research into the solutions for that right now. The one that I think probably has the most merit at the moment, although this could change in time, is the idea of sidechains, which I think starts to split up this idea of how many people need to verify a particular form of truth or a particular truth as it relates to two parties. But the one thing that I've learned over the years of being involved with Bitcoin is that usually solutions are found, or new ways of doing things are found. And so it's not really the sort of transaction scaling stuff that concerns me. I'm much more concerned actually about mining. And mining is just the way that transactions are confirmed and secured on the network. And I think that the way the economics are designed lends itself to vertical integration, as well as to, quite frankly, some degree of centralization. And so I think probably at some point as an industry, we'll have to figure out ways of solving that. There have been a few suggested, but I think ultimately they're very solvable technical problems. I think the much bigger issue within the Bitcoin industry right now is that we've sort of spent the first really 4 years of the industry building software for each other. So like I build software that Adam will find very interesting. Gavin builds software that I find super interesting, and it's great. And we can like meet up and talk about it. And there's no shortage of Bitcoin events. There's no shortage of places for Bitcoin and blockchain and decentralized people to talk to each other. But what none of us have really succeeded at doing is using these technology sets to build tools that are just intrinsically useful to average consumers. And so I think the much more concerning problem within the industry right now is not related to tech issues, which the three of us up here probably would talk about all day if you let us, but is much more related to building products that are truly useful to average people.
So you just stole my thunder. That was my next question. So where do you guys see the early exciting applications of let's start with Bitcoin. You just told me the other day that, or a few minutes ago, sorry, that you're excited to see a peak in number of transactions on your, that you could observe through people holding blockchain.info wallets. So what do you think drives those transactions? What do you see as the early applications? What are people using Bitcoin for today, other than just hoarding it because they think they're going to make money in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. We see people using Bitcoin for transactions that are very small or very large. And so it's either an efficient way to move a lot of money or a small amount of money. Average transaction size for us right now is about $800. But when you take out sort of the very small ones and the very, very large ones, over $1 million, the average transaction size is usually around $200. Most of our growth over the last 6 months have actually been out of emerging markets. So the BRIC countries as well as LATAM is quite huge for us. I think that building consumer-ready products is going to be a huge challenge with Bitcoin. It's one reason that we went out and raised a very large round of funding, is because I thought it would take quite a bit of time and a huge investment to build these products that are ready for average consumers.
Well, I mean, I think, Bitcoin is being used daily, and for example, people are using Bitcoin and other digital currencies to buy gift cards. There's a site called Giftoff, right? Giftoff.com, where you can put in one of 16 digital currencies, and you can buy a gift card for almost anything. So the statement that you can't buy anything with Bitcoin is plain wrong. You can buy anything you like, just indirectly.
Yeah,
and so that's one way.
Just to jump in here, I think that's kind of annoying. Like, that's not a really good value proposition for anyone.
Well, yes, but the point is that effectively you have an open and interchangeable system, and Bitcoin has allowed the creation of a multiplicity of digital currencies. So effectively everything becomes a digital currency in a sense, and Bitcoin opens up a panorama, so money is no longer controlled, and not every transaction is run through a bank or a centralized system. You can basically run an entire parallel system interchanging what are effectively different digital currencies with Bitcoin as a sort of reserve currency in there. And I think that is a sort of example of that working, I think.
So any other early applications you guys are seeing?
So personally, I think I find currency one of the least interesting of blockchain applications. It's really boring. Like, to look at how it's programmed, at least, it's really trivial. One of the ones that I find most interesting are things like prediction markets. So these are things where we really haven't seen how these properly will function in society and what effects they'll have. So when this technology starts becoming widespread, obviously there'll inevitably be use cases that we can't imagine, because we couldn't imagine Facebook in '97. But with provenance, as you mentioned before, Adam, and prediction markets, to name two, I think it's really going to have some interesting social effects.
Yeah, I think particularly online gaming will be huge, because it'll effectively, in prediction markets, which are essentially kind of tied a little bit, will be quite huge, because currently sort of the cost of running prediction markets, if you use sort of a non-decentralized technology, is quite high. And I think as we make those prediction markets cheaper, it'll suddenly be easy to have like micro prediction markets. And so like every village, every town, your street will have a prediction market. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how will that impact when I say village, I just mean your community. Mm-hmm. How will that impact your community? How will that impact the way society functions, the way society works? Mm-hmm. I think it'll be incredibly interesting. And to a certain extent, I agree with Gavin. I think that a lot of the most exciting applications about this technology are not currency related. I think that I'm probably a little more conservative in my viewpoint, in and of that I think we have to get people to use it for something obvious first. And so I'm quite focused on getting people to use it for something obvious. But I'm quite thankful that there are people out there working on the moonshots.
What about all these alternative currencies? I've lost track of the latest count, but there must be a couple hundred of them out there. What do you guys think about altcoins?
Yeah. So I think that they're mostly a scam. If you have 100 altcoins in front of you, probably 97, 98, 99 of them are a scam. For the record, since I'm up here and it'd be awkward, I don't think Ethereum is a scam. I actually have some out there. Yeah. Mostly as a way, because I want to play with it when you guys finish. I think it's a very interesting project. But I think for the most part, they have little to no value, and that when technologies like side chains or tree chains or any other way of a peg is successfully implemented, there really would be no reason for a lot of these smaller altcoins to exist at all.
Are there any exceptions other than Ethereum?
Yeah, sure. So I think Ethereum's interesting. I think MadeSafe's interesting. Past that, I haven't seen anything else.
StoreJX coin, I think, is interesting. And I think also that, I would draw a distinction between altcoins, which I sort of agree that most of them are not viable, probably, and how commodities will be reflected on the blockchain and whether, for example, colored coins will work. It's a method we've used. But you can have a coin which is backed by something like gold or silver, as we've created, and that's a colored coin as opposed to an altcoin. So, I just wonder the direction that it's going in. But I don't think, apart from the scam element of them, I think it's good to see so much innovation and diversity. And I think that I'm not sure personally if Bitcoin will be the first cryptocurrency or the last cryptocurrency. I'm very much a Bitcoin fan, but it could very well be that something else will emerge that is so manifestly superior that it's able to overturn Bitcoin's network effect. So I think it's an interesting area to watch the experimentation that's going on.
So just to close off, since we have a few seconds left, maybe talk about prediction markets or predictions. So what do you think? What sort of events do you think could trigger a sudden and much broader interest in cryptocurrency?
I think the sort of magical recipe for Bitcoin adoption for us at the moment seems to be currency crises, faltering faith in institutions, as well as a increasing penetration level of smartphones in emerging market countries.
I think what the blockchain allows us to do is encode value. And this, if it can be applied to something which people find intrinsically that they can identify with, this could really bolster blockchain. An example there would be badges. So I support Oxfam. I have an Oxfam badge. This badge is non-transferable, and it stays with my identity forever.
Well, I agree with Peter that crisis drives adoption, and I think also in a very small way that if a very small change like taking away the long numerical addresses and replacing it with something much more user-friendly, no one has quite cracked that, but as soon as they do, I think there is a good, very bright future for cryptocurrency.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank our panel. Thanks, guys.